Hello, Gemini. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Gemini is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Gemini, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And the Two of Cups, this is love. This is connection. This is divine love, self-love, romantic love, platonic love. Okay? I think that you're somebody who feels things deeply. I think that you are in search of meaningful connections with people. I feel like you have an ability to make other people feel inspired. I feel like you're somebody people want to be around. Yeah, people trust you. People know that you're genuine. People know that you're sincere. And I feel that, like, people tend to feel better when they're in your presence, right? I think people can feel the love when they're around you. I think everything you do it with love. Cooking, your work, your music, it's all inspired by that love. Okay? So let's see where this love is the most needed in your life right now. And let's see how it is pushing you forward into whatever's coming next for you in your life. Okay? We're going to use the Dove and Serpent spread. We have a 3 of Swords, a 10 of Cups. We have a Adjustment card. We have a Princess of Cups and a 4 of Cups. Okay, there's some healing going on here, especially with that 3 of Swords, because this is kind of a past wound, right, that needs to be healed. Yeah. So I think this is really about self-love. Yeah. And this is stability. There we have the Sun card. We have a 9 of Wands. You have the Lovers. Aha, yes. The Lovers card, which is the Gemini superpower card, but it's in the position of your fear, worry, and concern. The great obstacle here is for your internal, spiritual union. Okay? This is the card of choice. You're choosing yourself. You're choosing wholeness within yourself. And there's the card of completion. Okay? So that 3 of Swords, I think you're recognizing areas of your life where old trauma, old drama, old memories and complexes are still being played out, that are interfering with your ability to just love, to just be happy, to be content, to have pleasure, to enjoy the things of life, right? To receive love. You know, to receive love. And so maybe you're someone who is always giving love to everybody else. And now it's time for you to receive that. It's time for you to love yourself and fall in love with yourself again. Receive love. Yeah? Say, I receive in the comments to claim this message. Claim this wholeness. Yeah, the completion of this cycle. Let's select our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it right here with Tiny Bob Ross right on top. Happy little Bob. We're not going to look at that card until the very end. It will tie everything together. It will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card might be, put your prediction in the comments down below the video. Now, as we look around the room, we see 1, 2, 3 major arcana energies. Okay. The potential imbalance back here. Okay. The valuation of things in your life. Prioritizing things, right? We see the Sun card. The Sun card is the card of wholeness. It is the card of our own spiritual unity. Of course, the Lover's card is the card of choice. You have to choose self-love. You have to choose connection. Okay? You have to choose to receive love. So it could be that you really want this soulmate kind of connection with somebody, but you're recognizing a pattern that you are ready to break with that Three of Swords. You're recognizing how there's something that's been repeating itself in your life, preventing you from really having the kind of relationships that you want. Yeah. Because I feel that there is a wonderful opportunity on your doorstep. And I feel like you don't want your history or your past or your complexes or any of these kind of memories, you know. You don't want your past to interfere with the love that you have in your life right now. And the life and how you want this to continue. I feel like you probably already met somebody, or maybe it's a job thing. I don't know if it's a pet, a plant, a person, doesn't matter. I feel like they're already in your life. And I feel like you're really scared of like messing it up, you know? Really nervous that there's some part of you that's gonna sabotage it. Yeah. So we have our majors. We've got fire. We've got a lot of water. This is really a kind of an extraordinary amount of water. We got a little bit of air, and the air really is like the black cloud. That's kind of, it's threatening to rain on your parade here. It's trying to rain delay the game. Yeah. And then we don't have any earth cards. And I think that with the absence of the earth cards, it is telling me that there's nothing like technically or physically or practically wrong with this situation, that everything's probably fine, right? The issue seems to be that you don't trust it, or you don't trust yourself, or you're suspicious, or there's something that is playing out through you that has nothing to do with what's actually happening. And that's why we don't see the earth cards, right? Because this is something that you might be, it's a projection. It's something that we're sort of suspicious of now. There's something that you're kind of playing out, the worries, the thoughts and feelings, about it, anticipating something, assuming something, expecting something that's not actually there. Okay? Could be that you're feeling a lot of red flags, but there really isn't anything to be upset about. Okay? So whatever you're feeling right now, I feel like it doesn't have anything to do with the person that you're with or the situation you're in. Maybe this is a job thing. Maybe this has to do with a romance or a friendship. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's a black cloud that's over it right now. And this is what you're trying to recognize so that you can avoid this. You can not avoid it, but recognize it, shine a light on it. And once you shine a light on this, and you can see how it's happening, you can choose a different script. You can choose to say something different, to make a different choice, to say kind of a different line. Okay? The Three of Swords is a card of memory. And it speaks to something buried in our past, usually, that's affecting our present. So this is a black cloud from long ago. It's like, here it is again. Here it is now, And it's usually about reliving a past situation, reliving a narrative, reliving or kind of acting out a script that was written for us a long time ago, and we don't even realize that we're reciting these lines. But since this is front and center, this isn't in the background, this isn't below the surface, this is in your awareness. Okay? This is something that you definitely can sense and see. I wonder if it has something to do with this Libra energy back here. I don't know if one of the people who raised you was a Libra, maybe. I wonder if this was a time in your life where you didn't feel valued, or you didn't feel as if you were a priority. Okay, because sometimes with the Libra energy, this is an imbalance. Okay, and maybe it's the imbalance really of, one person does all the giving, the other person does all the taking, right? So, is this a dynamic that perhaps you watched your parents play out, or that you played this out in other relationships, or it was between you and your parents, where there was a great imbalance in the valuation, okay? And to me, it feels like this is something that is beginning to interfere with your self-love. Yeah. And it may be that you're not prioritizing yourself enough. It may be that you tend to live your life way out of balance with this, and maybe it's manifesting as like you're always hyper attentive to other people. Very aware of what other people need and always kind of serving other people's needs. Trying to do too much for everybody else. Always giving. That's a good quality, right? I mean, that's very positive stuff. But if it comes at the expense of your well-being, okay, and if it comes from this place of not valuing yourself, or feeling as if you have to give to others and perform and do all of that giving in order to be loved or valued, that's something that's interfering with the really true and honest connections that you're trying to establish with other people. And the fact that we have a Princess of Cups up here shows a more immature energy, okay, that's trying to get people to like them, trying to get people to love them by sacrificing your own needs and prioritizing other people more than is appropriate or balanced. Okay. So that Three of Swords is some kind of a protective energy that is keeping you kind of distant from other people. It's almost, there's a fear of really, well, we see the sun here, a fear of kind of being yourself and being balanced and being whole, and recognizing your own worth and your own value rather than needing some sort of external validation in order to balance the books in a way. Okay. This could be that you are, you're a very generous person with your love. Maybe that you still have a feeling of loneliness nonetheless. Down beneath the surface, the 10 of Cups. This is the card of satiety. This is the card of every cup being full to overflowing, usually a card of tremendous happiness. Okay? To me, it feels like you have the capacity for infinite bliss. Infinite bliss. But there's something that's preventing you from filling all these cups. Because in theory, this is the process of filling the cups. This is an exchange. This is a two-way street of love through every interaction. Divine love, self-love, platonic love, and romantic love. Okay? And through all of those interactions, taking it one by one-on-one, every single instance of love in your life, slowly filling that cup. Filling all the cups. And so the question, I guess, seems to be is, where do you see this Three of Swords playing out? Is it in your romantic love? Is it in your friendships? Is it in your self-love? I think it all comes down to self-love ultimately. Is this in even your divine love? Okay. It seems that there's some kind of, there's a black cloud here. And, well, with the Two of Cups, this is a bright, sunny day. The love is pure. The water is like glass. There's not a cloud in the sky. And then, of course, you have the rain. You have the storms. Okay. And to recognize what this is or why you feel this way and where this comes from is allowing you then to move past that storm. And see, with the Four of Cups, this is, the storm's still nearby, but we're out of it. You know, the sky's starting to clear, the water's starting to calm down, and things are kind of, things are getting to a more stable place. It's almost, the Three of Swords is almost like when you start to get really close to somebody, that's when you start to get scared and you start to act out and you start to kind of do things or say things that you're just like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Okay. And so there's something in you, and this is a complex. This is a psychological complex that gets formed when we're young and tries to protect us from getting hurt. Okay? But this isn't always a wise complex. It's very primitive. Okay? And if in the past you opened yourself up to love and you got hurt, then there's a part of you that's going to say, okay, well, we don't do that anymore. There's like, you touch a hot stove, ow, you burn your finger. A complex gets formed and says, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay. And so I think that it has a lot to do with who might be that Libra person, but it feels like it has to do with that imbalance of love, or that idea that you're not valuable unless you are kind of, in a way, kind of bending over backwards for somebody else. Okay. And also, I mean, if you look at the posture of this adjustment card, very stoic, almost cold, detached, a lot different from what we see over here. Okay? So what I think is going on for you is that you're realizing that you want love, that you want intimacy, you want connections. You're stepping into this energy today. You're stepping into love and stability and safety and security, emotional security. Because perhaps what this complex really is has been anyway, causing a disconnect, a coldness, an inability to really get intimate with somebody, to allow yourself to get close. This feels like a coldness, a clinical detachment. This is a card really that keeps everybody at arm's length. This is the card that has that kind of, that cold clinical distance. Nobody gets past just like the friend level for you. I feel like energy is allowed to go out to them with that Two of Cups. People love to be around you. They feel a lot of love from you, but it's like it's only a one-way street. You're not letting it come back. You got to claim that love. You got to let it in. In the future position, the Four of Cups is exactly that. This is a heart that's beginning to thaw. This is boundaries, walls that are starting to come down. So it feels like you've had this like membrane around you where all your energy can go out to other people, but there's no energy that's coming back in. And that's a system that can't stand. That eventually you're going to be depleted. Okay? Let me know in the comments if this is hitting a spot for you. Because this is a card that wants you to open up your heart and let that love in. Open up to receive that love. Yeah. So, are you ready to acknowledge that you deserve love and that you need wholeness within yourself? And you can experience that union and that togetherness and that intimacy with other people. Because I think that's why the Lover's card is in the position of the obstacle, or the fear, worry, and concern. The fear is that you might not ever find your soulmate. You might not ever find intimacy or those deeper bonds with people, whether it's platonic, romantic, or spiritual. Okay. And I think the fear really is that you're going to be forever separated from yourself. And so this really is a reading of an energy of union. But the Three of Swords, see, it's Saturn in Libra. It's something that is restricting your ability to unite with people, to connect with energies. Okay, and instead you have a Princess of Cups up here, which might just be superficial. Keeping things on a more casual basis. Yeah. Keeping things casual as a way to avoid the pain of getting hurt. If you go deeper, well, that's when someone can really affect your heart. If you stay on the surface level like a Queen of Cups would, or a Princess of Cups would. The Queen of Cups, right, would be the one that can lift the veil and can be emotionally vulnerable. This is not. This is not emotionally vulnerable. Yeah. This is an energy that tends to stay on the surface with people. And it may be that the Two of Cups here, the water is nice and calm. There's no storm here. But what's going on under the surface? Under the surface, do you feel overwhelmed? Okay. Sometimes that's the Ten of Cups, and overwhelmed. There's too much emotion here under the surface. Okay? And because this feels overwhelming, there's a self-sabotage taking place. The next step for you is to open up and allow yourself to feel safe opening up your heart. So, how do you do this? You take little steps. And maybe the Princess of Cups is ready to take a little step. Maybe you text somebody who you trust and you tell them something vulnerable. Maybe you open up about your feelings to somebody with whom you feel comfortable doing that, you feel safe doing that. Maybe this is a card that's saying, as an exercise, ask somebody for something. Somebody that you trust, somebody that you feel safe with, as a way of kind of opening up your heart in order to receive. Ask for the love that you want. If you need a shoulder to cry on, ask for it. If you need a hug from somebody that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, ask them for it. Do something that's a little bit vulnerable to let somebody in a safe and responsible way, of course, okay? Let me know in the comments if this is hitting, okay? Let's talk about the path of the serpent, and as we do this, I would like to ask for your subscription. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Your general energy is the radiant sun, a wholeness, okay? This is a radiant energy. And this is almost an infinite power source. Yeah. So this is telling me that you have a lot to offer, a lot of life and light and love to offer the world. But you need to find the thing that's going to sustain that, because this sun, if it just radiates out its light, it's eventually going to run out of elements to fuse together to generate that. It needs something else kind of coming back in. It's going to be depleted. It's like a battery. And eventually will run out of juice. Okay? And so I feel like sometimes you're the person that smiles even when you don't want to smile. You're the kind of person that is going to put on a happy face and be really happy, real friendly, real bubbly, even when you're kind of you're going through it. And I think it's very important right now that you embrace the shadow and don't just feel like you have to just be constantly shining your light. Right? The day can only exist because there's nighttime also. You know, it's kind of like you need that the restoration of the nighttime. You need that downtime, you need that darkness in order to sort of energize the light, right? So I kind of feel like your negative emotions, your shadow side, your moods, right? I feel like sometimes you mask those and you just put on a happy face. You put on this overly luminous energy in order to cover up, like, you know, the darkness that you sometimes feel. And I feel like that is exhausting. I feel like Spirit wants you to open up and receive love right now because you're always shining your light outwardly. And I feel like sometimes you need the hug, you need the love, you need the support, you need the healing. Okay. Spirit's showing me a word flashing. It's embrace. Embrace. Embrace your shadow. Embrace the other half of yourself. Embrace your own darkness. Embrace your own. I'm not saying that you just, when you're in a bad mood, that you just need to sink into it and just become a sad sack of potatoes. No. Embracing that is to acknowledge that, to say, some days I don't feel good and I don't need to go out there and be the smiley, friendly, gonna inspire everybody kind of person. Sometimes I can just be tired and not feel good and be in a mood, and you know, that's okay. To embrace the other side of yourself. And also I think embrace, like literally, like you need a hug. Okay? But you're busy putting on the smiling face for everybody else, putting on the happiness for everybody else. Sometimes that's covering up a darkness that you're feeling. So I feel like you need the hug. And that's kind of your homework, is to ask for it from someone that you feel comfortable with, etc. But don't feel as if you have to always be the strong one. Here's that 9 of Wands in the environment. In your relationships, you're the strong one. You're the one that's putting on the happy face. You're the one that is holding everything together and, you know, being the cheerful, optimistic person. That is exhausting, especially when you're doing that on the outside, but on the inside, I feel like it's too much. I feel like you're somebody who takes on the responsibility for everybody else's emotions. And so then you're not allowed to feel how you feel. So that's the balance of the Libra energy. And maybe it was your parents that were like that, or a dynamic that you witnessed growing up, because you learned that energy somewhere. And I think that it is, your feelings don't matter. Your job is to make sure somebody else stays in a good mood, right? Was your dad like that? Or is that, I feel like your dad, I feel like you had to do that for your dad. Yeah. That when you were young, your feelings, your needs, and your experience wasn't the priority. The priority was, we've got to do whatever we got to do to keep dad in a good mood, keep dad happy, right? And so that became your whole purpose. And then I feel like that is a big responsibility for someone else's emotional state. That's too much for an adult, let alone a kid. To feel as if it doesn't matter how I feel, I'm responsible for how other people feel. And that creates a very interesting dynamic in our experience of the world and in your behavior. Okay. And in a way, it sort of equates love with this idea of sacrifice. Yeah. That's too much of a responsibility for other people's emotional state or emotional well-being, to the neglect of your own emotional well-being. Share this video with somebody that needs to hear this message. And that's part of our 9 of Wands. The one that's got to be strong, the one that doesn't have time to feel tired or ill or depressed or sad or anything. Name the emotion. You don't have time to feel any of that because you've got to be strong. You've got to bounce back quickly because you have a responsibility for somebody else's emotional well-being, right? And that has cut you off from yourself a little bit. That's cut you off from really knowing what a balanced, reciprocating, inspiring, healthy love, healthy relationships are like. You're starting to get it. The Lover's card in the position of the anxiety. You deserve love. You deserve an equal partnership kind of thing. You deserve relationships that are reciprocal, that are balanced. Okay? And I think first and foremost, you have to love yourself. You have to make a choice. The Lover's card is all about choice. It's not about romantic love or anything like that. It's not really about love at all. It's about the choice. It's about loving something so much that you choose it 1,000%. I feel like you're choosing self-love 1,000%. And you're committing to that. You're choosing yourself. You're choosing wholeness within yourself so that you can then also choose relationships outside of yourself that then can be healthy, balanced, reciprocating, inspiring, healing, joyful, blissful, all that stuff. Yeah. And you can get off of this cycle, I think, of perhaps sabotaging relationships or keeping the distance, having the cold clinical distance, or feeling as if you have to be responsible for making sure somebody else is in a good mood and they stay in a good mood and make sure, like that's your mission in life. Getting off of that cycle. Okay. Opening yourself up to real love. Opening yourself up to how you actually feel with that Four of Cups. And now the Four of Wands, that's the completion of a cycle. This is closure. This is kind of being done with a particular merry-go-round. Okay. This also looks like wholeness to me. It looks like stability. Yeah. I think that this is closure. This is you kind of letting go of the need and realizing and kind of consciously releasing the need to please everybody. Let's say that, again, I think it happens when we're kids. I think that you were taught to go out of your way to try to make sure somebody else had a good day, because if not, you'd feel the wrath. Okay? If not, it would affect your well-being, your emotional well-being. Okay? So you were taught to do everything you could to make sure Dad stayed in a good mood, otherwise there'd be fighting, there'd be yelling, there'd be, whatever. I think this is you consciously releasing that responsibility. You are not responsible for the way other people feel. Not to the expense of your own well-being, and certainly not to the degree that you're like overwhelmed by that responsibility. That's heavy for anybody. Okay? Save this video for when you need a reminder that you can let go of that responsibility. That you are not responsible for how other people feel or how other people treat you. Right? This is letting go of the past, identifying that complex, and choosing a different narrative. There's a card that says you get to write your own. You are the author of your own narrative now. You're writing your own script. This is Venus in Aries. So this is you beginning that, implementing a practice of self-love. This is you with the ability, the authority, and the right, the sovereignty, the agency to write your own story. to write your own script for happiness, for love, for the kind of relationships that you want, the kind of choices that you want to make. Leave a comment, say, I receive, to claim this message. I want to look at the mystery card. Probably more cups, right? Maybe the 6 of cups. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Let's see what we have. The Death card. The Death card really drives it home. Grieving and releasing. Letting the past go into the past. Not letting our past affect our present. That the past is dust. This is a card of transformation. This is a card of rebirth. This is the card of saying, today is the day that I can be reborn and I can do things differently. Every moment is a chance for us to be born again. To make new choices. Choices that are in alignment with our highest aspirations, right? Venus in Aries. Every moment can be the rebirth. And I think we need to claim it. I think we need to make that declaration. Make it out loud to yourself, you know. This is the moment everything changes. This is the moment of rebirth. Yeah. Now, we're going to do an extended reading as well. If you want to stick around, we'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There is a link in the corner. There's a link down below in the video description. New readings for Gemini on Wednesdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you are the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we are all in this together.